Lately we had a blackout. Wasn't pleasant, but I don't remember it to be paralyzing and stifling and completely stopping us from living. Yet this seems what to have happened in Egypt. What's this all about? Let's say some Tehillim, and then we'll have an opportunity to understand what's happening. Chapter 100, Mizmor L'Soy, some tzedakah, my dear friends, so that we should not be paralyzed and we should not be stifled. We should see the light. So, the ninth plague that we briefly mentioned yesterday was the plague of darkness. Now, it seems like that even the most powerful night vision goggles would not have helped the Egyptians during this plague. Because the Torah describes the darkness with these words. And let me read it to you. Vayet Moshe es yod al hashamayim. And Moshe Rabbeinu stretched forth his hand towards the heavens. Vayichoshech hafelo b'chol eretz Mitzrayim. And there was a thick darkness over the entire land of Egypt. Shloishes yomim, for 3 days. Torah continues. What was this darkness all about? Lo yirou ish es achiv. They didn't see each other. V'lo kama ish mitachtov, and no one rose from his place. Shloishes yomim, 3 days. And Torah says, L'chol b'nei Yisrael, and for all the Jewish children, haya oir b'moshvoisam, they had light in their dwellings. So the sages tell us, what the verse is telling over here, that this darkness was not just one that they couldn't see each other, but it was paralyzing. It was so thick that in whatever position an individual found himself or herself, at the moment when darkness struck, that's how they stayed paralyzed, frozen, immobile, for a total of 3 days. Yesterday we mentioned the idea is that their Weltanschauung, their perception of life, which they thought which is enlightening, is actually paralyzing and darkening. But what's the idea here? And why does the Torah tell us over here, Lo yirou ish es achiv? A person couldn't see his brother. Just say, Lo yirou, they couldn't see because it is dark. And what's the whole concept of it being so thick that he couldn't move? So I think there's an interesting message here. Remember we learned in the beginning of Shemos that it says that Vayakom melech chadash, there's a new king that arose in Egypt, Asher leyoda es Yosef, that was not aware, that didn't know, that wasn't familiar with Yosef. And that's when the exile, the hard exile, started. There's an interesting point here. Who was Yosef? He was a king for about 80 years. He became king at 30, he passed away around by 110. So for 80 years he ruled that country. He saved them from famine. He saved them from dying. How ingracious can one be to their benefactor, to their savior? He built Egypt. The moment he died, not only did they not make a plaque, but they forgot him. What kind of hypocrisy can this be? How can a person be like that? So the answer is here in this verse. Not only were they ungracious, not only were they disrespectful, unthankful to Yosef, but between themselves, lo yirou ish es achiv. They didn't see the other. They only saw as far as their own nose. They only saw themselves. Their egocentrism was so overwhelming that their own brothers they couldn't see. They didn't care about anybody else. V'lakoma ish mitachtov could also be explained not just that the person couldn't stand up from where they were, but they wouldn't stand up for anybody who was below them. They had such a disdain for others, for their own brothers, who they figured is inferior. Loi kamu, we don't stand up, we don't care about you. That was Egypt. And the pasuk says, "Ulechol b'nei Yisrael haya oyer b'mayshvaisam." But to the Jewish people, to the Israelites, they had light. Their homes was filled with light, with warmth. They cared for each other. They saw each other. They respected each other. And this respect, this care is what is bringing us the ultimate light with Mashiach now.